Oh, they did what they do on the airplane. They're overbooked. But we'll pack them in there. Alrighty. Alright, recap. You guys, we're talking about the mine. The Mammoth was over there, brought $1.5 million worth of gold between 1893 and 98. Richest gold mine in the country at that time. It's now flooded. We call it the Goldfield Pond. I'll explain that a little bit later on the tour, I promise. What we've done is spent about 2.5 years building a replica of one of the levels of the Mammoth mine. Makes it a lot drier and safer for us. Now that little building right there that you got your tickets out of is known as the hoist house. Inside there is the hoist or the winch that operates. That wire rope goes up over the head frame around the shiv on the top, down into the shaft below. The shaft of the Mammoth mine was 1,058 feet straight down into the ground. It's roughly the same depth as the Empire State Building is high, minus the antenna. Now inside the shaft at the end of the cable was that little box right over there. And that's how they lowered the men down into the mine. That, by the way, is a 9-man iron cage. Yeah, the miners weren't real big back then. The average miner was about 5'5", maybe 5'7", and somewhere between 125 and 150 pounds. That's me in the 6th grade. Alright, this thing right over here, that is an Ingersoll Rand 1890s air compressor. That would have pumped air to all 7 levels of the mine to provide power for the pneumatic drills and stuff like that. Okay, you folks ready to go? Yeah. Alrighty, those of you with sticks will be following me. I'm going to warn you right now that I might be sending about 10 or 12 of you back so that we can get, because this is going to be like ridiculous packed in. I didn't realize I got ahead of myself when I was passing out. Alrighty. Watch your step as you head in the elevator. Maybe a little room over in the corner where the left hand where the buttons are. Alrighty, off you go. Come on in, watch your step. Watch your step there. Watch your step. I can get over 20-something people.
Yeah. There's a little ridge. Okay, don't swing your stick, bud. We're in tight quarters, okay? Just go all the way back. Uh-oh, somebody wants to glasses.
They're mine.
Yep, grab those.
Sorry.
There we go.
They're mine. Right here. Thank you.
This is gonna be scary.
They're lucky they made it this far without.
All right, all the way in, bud. All right, there we go.
1,000 pounds.
Is Daddy gonna make it? No, of course not.
Is it?
Daddy and Callie are not gonna make it.
We're stretching the cable.
Come on.
They mess with us.
Might want to hold
They went down in something, but not in this.
We need 2.
9 of them.
Hooray,
I'll
hooray.
send you up for the next one, all right? We'll just
Stay-
all be more comfortable that way.
Stay with your family.
Sorry about that, too.
You cut ahead.
Maybe on his tour. All right, it'll probably be about 50.
I was being nice and cut people off.
Got the little one, yeah.
Sorry about that, folks.
Down here.
Yeah, I don't want to pack that many. I mean, I can get them in here. It's miserable. All right.
No, we had to keep 10 back.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and we are off.
See the graphics going by.
Can you imagine going to work like this every day?
See the graphics.
Yeah, this was your commute. Ride a little bitty elevator with a bunch of guys that only bathed once a week. Alrighty, we're gonna go out that door right over there. So I'm gonna kind of go in the middle here.
Now we're at the nice.
Excuse me, ma'am. Oh, let me get it there. Get the lights going. Alrighty, once again, watch your step. Kind of stay on the right-hand side. Don't go past the rock coming out of the ceiling being held up by the jack. There's a step down as well. You might want to ditch this. Oh, I thought you were wearing sunglasses.
I did not like to work here. This would not be my cup of tea.
Can you imagine that heck every day?
For 8 or 9 or 10 hours a day. Oh, forget it.
Dusty, dirty.
There's not enough workers' comp insurance for this job.
And just think, this is a replica mine. This is
They polished it up and plumbed it out.
Alright. You guys went past the rock coming out of the ceiling, held up by the jack. Come back.
There's the rock. I see it now. Thanks, Shane.
Alrighty, well now that we got you underground, I'm going to tell you a little bit about geology. From my understanding, most of the minerals that we get out of the ground, like salt and coal and probably 100 others, are in layers horizontal throughout the earth. Heavy metals like gold, silver, copper, lead and stuff like that, they get pushed vertical. Has something to do with volcanic action as they get superheated and shoved up between the nooks and crannies. So when they find the veins of gold up on the surface, they'll drill a shaft as close to it as they possibly can. Then they're going to tunnel their way over to the ore. The tunnel will be going at a slight incline. The advantage of that is once you get to the ore and you put your tracks down on the ground, well, gravity will take over and they'll roll right down towards the elevator door, the ore carts will. That and you can backfill every once in a while in these rubble, as you're building rubble in the tunnel, and you'll see a little rubble tunnel later on in the tour I'll point out. Now, we need tools to get this whole thing started, and that's what this is. This is known as a star drill. This is just the drill bit to get into the rock. We still need a power source. Power source. 9-pound drill hammer. That goes on the rock, and you would hit it and turn it, and hit it and turn it, and hit it and turn it. Do that until this one got about 3/4 of the way in. At which point you would take one that was about 12 feet long. And you got to hold and turn that while the other fellow took an 18 to 20-pound hammer and hopefully hit the other end of it. You had a lot of trust in your fellow employee you had to have back then. Now in the 1870s, a fella came up with these little drills right over here. This is known as a Sullivan drill. I have no idea why, because it was patented by Mr. Simon Ingersoll in 1871. Now, some of the earlier models had a lot of problems with it. One is it had a tendency to get stuck in the rock and give you about 3 seconds to hit the kill switch, or else this thing would kick back with enough force that it could actually rip a man's head plumb off, earning it the nickname of the Widowmaker. Yeah, the job just keeps getting better, doesn't it? Yeah. After a while, they noticed that they were getting symptoms that reminded them of what they called the consumption back then. You folks know what today is tuberculosis. Apparently, the dust that was in the air was more than just annoying. It was actually quite dangerous. There was tiny silica particles in that dust, was the equivalent of inhaling microscopic razor blades. Your lungs would become so chewed up that after a while, they would actually fill with your own blood. And of course, once your lungs are filled with liquid, you have a tendency to drown. Now, on this model here, you can see they added water to it. And that actually kept the dust down by about 30 or 40%. But that is not why they added the water. The water was added strictly to keep the drill bit cool, so they didn't have to sharpen it as often, and also wasn't getting as warped and bent due to the temperature as the metal would heat in the friction from the drilling. So that was it. Yeah, they were never overly concerned with the health and the well-being of the miners. They were paid well. We're talking $3 a day. In the 1890s, that was a pretty good chunk of change. Considering my entire wardrobe, with the exception of the shoes, would have been about $4. Yeah, so shoes, we got another $3. All right. Now I'm going to kind of work my way. We're going to move down this way and kind of gather around this little ore cart over here. Most of you kids are recognizing these things from the old Scooby-Doo movies. And Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and all those kind of things. You can get closer. It's only Wednesday. I'm still relatively fresh. Alright. Took my bath on Saturday. You take a bath every Saturday, don't you? Yeah. Now, there's not a whole lot I can tell you about an ore cart, but this will give you an idea as to why gold is so expensive. A lot of people don't realize that a mine that is producing about an ounce of gold per ton of ore is actually a very good mine. To give you an idea, an ounce of gold is roughly the size of my thumb. A ton of ore is this thing filled to the top with rock. All right, so you can imagine that. And even nowadays, a quarter of an ounce per ton is pretty good because they can get it out a lot easier than they did back then. Now, the Mammoth was an exceptional mine. We're talking between 13 to 18 ounces of gold per ton. That's about the size of most of you youngins' fists, to give you an idea. Then they hit the mother lode, and here we're talking 300 to 1,000 ounces of gold per ton. That's about the size of most of your youngins' heads and up to the size of my head. They actually took a 2-day run out of the Mammoth mine and produced a 76-pound bar of gold. That's probably close to what you weigh there, partner. You know how much you weigh by any chance?
It's about 86 pounds.
So about a little bit less than you there, a little bit more than that feller over there. Some of the gals might be close, but you never want to guess the gal's weight, partner, trust me. Alrighty on that one. Alrighty, come on down here. We're going to take little holes that we've done drilled. Come on right around in here. We've drilled all these little holes. Now we're going to make some big ones. And that's where dynamite comes in. Yeah, now we're having some fun. 21 holes are drilled in a typical blasting pattern. 20 of them are only 20 of them are filled with dynamite, and except for this one here, the middle hole, known as the burn hole. The 5 right around the burn hole are the burn, and they blow up first. Then you got the ones up high here, known as the roof toppers. Down here are the knee highs, and on the floor are the lifters. And the lifters do just that. They lift that rock up, dump it out towards us, leaving you a hole about 8 or 10 feet deep, about the same width and about 6 or 8 feet high. It is going to take 2 men about 8 to 10 hours to drill them holes, and a while for the dust to settle so you could actually see what you were doing down here. My favorite is the geniuses up top thinking that 50 feet away was a safe enough distance. Yeah, that's roughly from where I'm standing to the elevator door. How'd you like to be that close underground when between 40 to 100 sticks of dynamite are going off? Yeah, I'm going to be up in Mesa. You guys give me a call and I'll be right back. That's a 4 or 5 hour stagecoach ride it was to get from Mesa to here back in the days. Well, the cars move pretty quick compared to that. It'll be a quick ride today. You can do that in about 20 minutes. Alrighty, come on over, folks. We're going to gather around this fine piece of equipment right over here. This is known, of course, as the honey wagon. And I can see that hardly anybody knows what that is. It's the toilet. Yep, the original porta potty. It was one man's job to push this thing through the mine and empty it at the end of the day. They called him the Honey Dipper. And he got $1 a day less than the miners did. This was also apparently one of the methods that might have been used to try to steal gold out of the mine, or high grade. Yeah, see, now if you were caught stealing, they had a tendency to hang you. In the old town of Wickenburg, Arizona, they caught and hung 18 fellers for stealing gold out of the Vulture mine up there. Now apparently that tree is still up there. Of course, it depends on who you talk to as to where it is. Some folks will tell you that it's close to the old Vulture mine up there by the assayer's office. And other folks will tell you it's closer to the center of town in the parking lot of what is now the Circle K. Pretty much true with just about anything in history, isn't it? It all depends on what book you read and who you talk to and stuff like that. So, yep. Now back in the 1890s, these fellas, you can get closer, come on down. I know it's dark down there. Alrighty. They did not have this fancy electrical lighting going on. Nope, each miner was handed 4 candles at the beginning of their shift to light their way. We're going to kind of show you what that would look like down here. See if this candle's going to cooperate right now. It was acting up earlier. These so-called emergency candles. So we're going to use this little, what's left of this little candle stub right over here. Alrighty, you ready? 2012, little quick time travel, 1890s. Whoa, that was it. There's your workstation. Alrighty. You're down here with 4 candles for 12 hours. And you can see after a while that candle's going to burn out. I might be getting low, so I might want to save that for working or getting out of here. So what they would do to conserve their candles was during their lunch break, they would actually blow their candles out and eat their lunch in total darkness. Of course, this is also what it looked like when you first came to work. If I can get everybody to turn off anything that's giving out lights, it's kind of fun. Now this tunnel we're going to go through, you'll see some boards on each side and loose rock behind it. That's one of them rubble tunnels that I was talking about where they would dump the excess rock so they didn't have to bring it up to the surface. All right.
This is a guy that was last with me. Let you let the little ones be in front, okay?
Yeah, it doesn't look like he made it.
Everybody's out of there, right? No, I still got somebody. Oh, I have Blinky shoes. Yeah. Dang it. I could have had you dancing in there. Those are cool Blinky shoes too, man. Those would have put on quite the light show while we were down there. Oh, here we go. Let's have a dance. You ready? Here we go. We'll do it for now. You ready? Dance for us, buddy. Dance. All right. You guys can sit down if you'd like. There's some benches over there. Some of y'all can sit. Some of y'all are going to have to stand. If you really need to sit down and the person on the bench is younger than you are, just give them a nudge. There you go. Now. All right. This area here represents where they worked out the ore. And that is why it is much larger than the rest of the mine and has a totally different type of structure. Bunch of little boxes on top of each other. It's known as square set timbering, and it first started being used in Nevada in a mine that was part of the Comstock lode in the late 1860s, early 1870s. The most unique feature about it is there's no nails, screws, bolts, or pegs keeping it in place. It's all fitted together kind of like Lincoln Lodge or Tinker Toys. That way the wood can expand and contract and also has a little bit of play. Now the mine did collapse on the 4th of July of 1897. Trapping one Mr. James Stevens down here for about 14 days. And he survived on only 1 gallon of water and a couple of candles. That's all he had. He didn't look real good at the end. He dropped down to about 95 pounds and had a temperature of 104 degrees and was extremely dehydrated. Ironically enough, there was a lot of water in the mine. He just couldn't get to it. They were pumping as much as 100,000 gallons of water out of the Mammoth Mine on a daily basis. Now that became kind of a downfall later on because they were putting the water up in the water tower. Then they decided to build a dam in one of the washes and pump the water out into that so they could channel it anywhere they wanted to. It was a good idea until the monsoon seasons came and then the dam broke. Millions of gallons of water ended up going down into the mine shaft, creating all sorts of damage. Now they finally get the water out of here and they get back to work, and that's when they start running into really low grade ore. We're now down to less than 1/4 of an ounce per ton, so they start shutting things down. In November of that year, 1898, the post office done closed. And according to the government, once your post office closes, well, your town, it no longer exists. Now, they do get things going up and again here, and by 1921, there's actually enough activity up here that they reopened the post office, and we changed the name of the town to Youngsburg. That's because of Mr. George Young, who was kind of influential and all that kind of stuff. And that lasted all of 5 years until 1926. That's when they ran into the second largest aquifer in the entire valley, and they couldn't keep up with the water, and the low-grade ore didn't make it worth their while, so they shut down in 1926. Then in 1942, the military was out here practicing, and apparently there was a little mishap with a mortar round, and it burnt the whole town to the ground. Then there were scrappers came through here and took all the metal and anything that was of value out of here and sent it down to California, so there wasn't much left of Goldfield or Youngsburg by 1943. Present-day owners came out here in about 1986 and started rebuilding and stuff. We're on some of the original foundations of the old town and stuff. We have salvaged a lot of wood from all over the place that we're reusing and stuff like that. On the fronts and the sides, the insides are good. So we don't have to worry about the buildings collapsing or nothing like that. Alrighty, and between the cave-in and the flooding, that's what created that big old pond that I was telling you about earlier on in the tour. Alrighty, do we have any questions about the mine or the town or anything like that that I can answer for you? Nothing. Alrighty. Let's get you folks out of here.